Before we start with the formulas, I want to quickly explain why we are building this expense tracker and how the whole system flows, right? So the goal here is not just to track expenses, but also the goal is to build a small but real business system that can eventually answer questions like how much we are spending each month, where is the money going, which expenses are fixed versus which are variable, and which vendors cost us the most, right? And few other questions as well, of course. To do that properly, we need a clean workflow. So very briefly, the workflow look like this. First, there is raw expenses, which comes in first, and then there are categories and vendors which define the business meaning, and then we have process data, right, which is created automatically, and the dashboard sits on top of that, right? So basically, our manual inputs should be only the raw expenses and categories and vendors, and rest everything should be automated. So that is what we are trying to make. Very soon I'm gonna share my screen and you will be able to relate it properly, right? In the earlier videos we focused mostly on structure and hygiene. For this video we will focus on processing real data, right? I have already added few demo rows and columns, around 350 rows of raw expense data, and I have also created the categories and vendor tables in advance just to save some time. So this was something to set the context, and now we are going to only focus on what actually matters, how data is transformed correctly, and by end of this video our processed data will be clean, enriched, and ready for the dashboards. Okay, so let's move to the sheets. Okay, so this is the raw expenses sheet where we have all the inputs. This is pure input, and I have manually added all the rows as I mentioned earlier. 350 rows. This is around 350, I guess. Okay, this is more than that. 372 rows over here. This sheet have one row is for one expense over here, and there are no formulas, no logic, and next there are categories, and then there are vendors. These are also manual, but they change very rarely, right? So if you are making something for your business or for your company, so normally these would be the normal category names, and there won't be any different category every time, right? There won't be any new category coming in every time. So these will also getting changed once in a while, but not every time, right? But for the raw expenses, this is something which is gonna get changed each and every day, maybe every minute, you never know, basis the use. So these categories and vendors, they define meaning, right? And raw data does not define meaning. Reference tables do. So now we move to processed expenses. So this sheet is basically where all formulas will live, right? And here I've added two columns, category type and vendor type, because these columns are coming from till column G, which is notes, are coming from raw expenses, and then we are enriching data over here, and these calculations and all that stuff over here would be automatic. We don't need to manually do anything over here. So as we know, raw expenses, categories, and vendors, these three are manual, and other than these three sheets, every tab should be automatic. So I'm gonna just change the color for these, right? So I'll just right click and maybe do color it green. So this way we know that these are manual, and then for all these we can simply change color to maybe purple. Yeah, so now we know these are manual and these are auto sheets. Okay, so before writing any formula over here, I want to be clear about the goal. In this processed table, each row should already tell us what category this expense belongs to, whether it's fixed or variable, which type of vendor it is, and when it happened, the month and year, right? If we get this right, dashboards become easy. If we get these data wrong, dashboards will lie, and we don't want that, right? Now let's start working on the formulas. The first rule of real systems would be never drag formulas, right? So if we are adding formulas, then we do not want to drag it every time, right? So that is the first rule, and that's the thumb rule. When you're making a real system, never drag formulas. Data grows every time, and dragged formulas won't be growing. You have to come and manual doing it every time. Okay, let's move on to the formulas. Also, since we are not going to understand, like I'm not going to explain all the formulas because right now it's not really a right time to understand the formulas. We would be using AI for all the steps. Even the first step, we'll be using AI. I wanted to use AI for this particular video because right now, I really don't think people should not be using AI tools, because that is very, very efficient. If you are good with making the prompts, then you can literally reduce or save many hours every day. So that is really a great thing. Okay, now I'm asking ChatGPT for a formula that will pull the data from raw expenses into processed expenses using the array formula, because as I mentioned, we do not want to drag the formula, so we will be using array formulas. Okay, so I've already made few prompts for all of you. So I'll be sharing these in the pinned comments. I'll copy it from here, and then I'll simply go and paste it over here in the GPT. And this prompt simply says I have a Google sheet with raw data in a sheet called raw expenses. Write a single array formula that will pull all the columns from A through G from raw expenses, starts from row 2, automatically expands as new rows are added, and all the things that we wanted to have, right? You can always go and change the prompts, or maybe write your own prompt. I'm just trying to make sure that whatever we are doing over here are getting shared as is with all of you. So that's why I'm making the prompts over here, and I'll be sharing everything in the pinned comments. So I'll just send it to ChatGPT, and it has sent me the formula for the same. Just copy it from here and we'll paste it over here, right? Nothing else. Okay, so now we have got all the rows from raw expenses that we wanted to have. It is only fetching till column G. Well, I think that's all right. Like in the raw expenses, we only have, okay, yeah, we only need till column G, right? Now we also want to have month, year, category type, vendor type, because this data is still incomplete. This is not having any kind of meaning. It is only a filter version of raw expenses. That's it. But we need to enrich this data, right? So we need the category type, we need the vendor type for all the rows over here. We also need month and year, right? So let's go with other columns as well. Now maybe we can first start with category type and vendor type. So I've also added the prompt for these. So this prompt is for category type. I'll simply copy this from here and we'll paste it over here. So now we have a good formula for this as well. We'll copy it from here and then simply go to category type and we'll paste it over here. See, so it has not given me anything. Let's just check the formula. If then A to A, where we look up. Okay, so if you see, this is something which is very common when you're using LLM tools. They are not aware about your references, right? So that is something you need to make sure that you understand properly. So if I go to this formula, if you see, it says array formula if length A2 to A, comma, if error VLOOKUP A2 to A, right? So it's looking up for these value in the categories column. In the categories column in B and C, we do not have that, right? So instead of looking up for A2 to A, we should be looking up for, since it's categories, right? So we should be looking for category name in the VLOOKUP. Over here it's category, so we should be looking for D. I'll just simply change it from A2 to D2 to D, right? So now we are going to look up for this value, and now we have everything over here, the category type. So is it variable or is it fixed, right? So this is coming from categories label. So when you are working with ChatGPT, they normally knows everything whatever you have given the information for, but since this was a new ChatGPT, new window, incognito window, it was not aware about the workflow that we were working on. But normally when you are working from scratch with any LLM tool, they remember the structure as well, right? And if you're not able to grasp it, if you do not want to change anything over here, you can simply make the prompt more detailed, right? Now coming to the vendor type, I'll simply go and have this prompt from here. I'll just copy it and we'll paste it over here, right? So if it is also giving me the same A to 1, right? I'm getting the structure at least, right? I'll just paste it over here, and now if you see, it's coming blank again because it's the VLOOKUP is for expense ID and we do not have the expense ID in vendors table. In the vendors tab, we only have vendor ID, vendor name, and vendor type, right? So vendor name over here, and then vendor name is also present over here,
So we should be having VLOOKUP on column E, not in column A. So I'll simply go and change it to E2 to E. Now we have the vendor type as well, right? So we have repeated the same thing for vendors as well. Now moving to the time dimensions. So most business questions are time based, and this is my personal experience, guys. Every time we need to filter out the data basis the time, and this is the expense tracking system. So we will be having some questions like what is the monthly spend, yearly trends. So instead of calculating time logic later, I will be deriving it once here itself. So I've created a month column and a year column as well over here, right? Now, raw data stays untouched. Processed data becomes time aware. In the raw expenses, we do not have any time column, right? But over here, we should be having it. So since we are going to use this processed expenses tab in our dashboard, so we need these things, right? So this will keep the dashboard simple and consistent as well. So for this as well, I think I have a prompt, month name from date. Let's copy it from here and we'll paste it over here. Even if the prompts are not working for you, make sure you understand the things, right? So in this example, I'll show you properly again. So I'll just copy the formula from here, from there to here, right? So we have received this as the output, which is not correct, right? So what do we need over here? Now we have the expense date over here. If you notice one thing, this expense date is not actually date. Do you know the reason behind this? So this is something you will face consistently almost every time when you are using Google Sheets or Excel. This is because of the data type, right? So now this data type is in terms of numbers, right? So I'll just select the whole column. I'll go to data. I'll change the data type. I think it's not in data, it's in format. And then I'll go over here and we'll select date like this. So everything is changed to date now, right? Now in column H, we want to extract month from column B. If you see the formula, it is checking from column A, right? So over here, we'll change it to B. So these are the few things that you need to correct yourself, right? Now for this year, I do have another prompt for this, but I don't want to use the prompt now. I wanted to show you that this is very much possible using prompts as well. That's why I was using prompts initially. Now I'm just gonna show you how you can, use the already existed formula in some other columns. So I'll just copy it from here and I'll paste it over here. And here I'll just say equal to, and now we do not need text. This column says year, right? So I'll write year over here. And since we do not need text, we do not need this as well. Right? Now we have the year over here. Simply align this as well in the center aligned format, this, or maybe in the left one. So now we have all the data present in processed expenses. It's clean and ready to use for the dashboards. Right? Now I will be very honest. So it's really, we cannot cover all the Google Sheets formula in one video, and memorizing formulas is not really the right skill anymore. The real skill is knowing what you want, knowing where logic belongs, and knowing how to ask for it. That's where AI helps, right? So I use AI to generate options, not to design system. Think of AI as maybe a fast junior analyst, but not the architect. So behind the system, behind the things you're developing, the brain should be yours, and AI will help you achieve your goal faster, right? So whenever you are writing any kind of prompt or anything or chatting with AI, make sure to improvise everything as per your idea, as per your requirement, right? So I'm gonna pin all the prompts under a comment on a pinned comment under this video with reusable AI prompts and all. So using those prompts, you can generate many different formulas on your own. So it won't be just these prompts that I was showing in the video. I'll be adding, maybe more prompts as well that you can use for other things as well. That's really far more powerful than memorizing functions, right?
At this point, our process data is clean, enriched, and scalable. If I add more expenses in raw expenses sheet, everything updates automatically. So that's the magic, guys. This is the correct foundation for any reporting system. And in the next video, we will build dashboards on top of this. And I'll show you why bad dashboards lie when data isn't prepared properly. Let's continue.